Welcome to my channel, where the scariest stories come to life. Before we dive into today's chilling tale, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications, so you never miss a story. Now, let's get into the horror. A few years ago, in my hometown, I had gone out drinking with friends at the local bar. The bar was hosting some sort of company party that took up nearly half the building. It was quite large, so it wasn't much of an issue, but it was very, very busy. We all stepped outside for a cigarette when I saw a guy carrying a girl out of the bar. It was obvious she was drunk, way too drunk. He sat there for a few minutes trying to kiss her and touch her, saying he was going to take her home, but she kept saying no and pushing him away. Everyone outside was getting uncomfortable, but no one stepped in. He said he was going to go get his stuff and then take her to his house, even though she kept saying no. When he stepped inside, I walked over and asked her what was going on. I could see that she had an obviously broken or severely twisted ankle. She said that she had fallen and couldn't walk. The guy had offered to walk her to the bar, but instead led her outside, away from her friends, and was planning on taking her home. She didn't have any of her belongings, and she was crying from pain and fear. I was seething with anger at this point. I couldn't believe what was happening. My friends told me not to get more involved, but I picked her up and brought her back inside. I sat her at the nearest table where an older couple was watching a hockey game. I explained the whole situation and what I saw. At this point, I noticed the guy coming back in from outside, obviously confused when he didn't find her lying on the sidewalk waiting for him to take her home. The older man had apparently seen some of this from inside the bar, so when I pointed out the man, the old man stood up, looked him dead in the eyes, and said, "Oh, that piece of dirt? Yeah, don't worry, he's not coming anywhere near her." The guy tried to confront us, but as soon as security noticed, he left in a hurry. After things settled down and we explained to the bouncer what had happened, the older couple took her to the medical center for her ankle and texted me when they got there safely. I heard from the girl afterward, and she thanked me profusely. Apparently, her friends hadn't even noticed she was gone that long. It disturbs me to think what that guy had in mind. Even with her obviously injured leg and her saying she needed to see a doctor, he just ignored her and continued trying to take advantage of her. What's worse is that there were about 30 to 40 people who wouldn't speak up. I'm a female, and I was 22 at the time. The story takes place in early January in Madison, Wisconsin. Madison is notorious for its drinking culture, boasting the famous kilometer-long State Street, which is basically one long, uninterrupted series of bars. It links the university library to the state capitol. I had parked my car at the end near the library and met up with some friends. We ended up at a bar next to the Capitol, where we ran into many old high school classmates. My friends decided to leave earlier, but an old former friend asked if I could give him and his older brother a ride back. I agreed, so I waited for him to finish his drink so we could leave. I waited and waited. I must have waited for about 20 minutes. About 10 minutes before bar close at 2 a.m., he tells me he's getting a ride from someone else. I was livid but didn't show it and just walked off. Now I had to make it back to my car while all the drunks were exiting the bars, hollering at any girls they saw. There was an icy wasteland between me and my car, so I bundled up and started walking briskly down State Street. The catcalls, jeering, and crude propositions started, and I was practically jogging at this point. Suddenly, this guy caught up to me and tried to start a conversation. Mid-jog, he asked me my name, where I lived, what I was doing now, and all manner of inappropriate questions. I got super weird vibes and tried to shake him, but he followed me almost to the end. I realized that the very last bar was coming up before I would have to round a corner to get to my car, where we would have been alone. I made a ballsy decision. I made eye contact with a pair of built, yet non-creepy looking guys, and went right up to one of them. I threw my arms around him, exclaiming, "Oh my God, Andy, I haven't seen you in forever. How have you been?" The guy was so confused at first, but mid-hug, I whispered, "Help me," in his ear. He played along, and after about a minute of ad hoc dialogue, the creeper retreated. Once he was gone, I thanked the guys, said goodnight, and made it back to my car. If I hadn't had the courage to approach two random guys and ask for help, I don't know how the night would have ended. I'm a karaoke DJ. I usually get home between 2 and 3 a.m., but tonight I got off around 11 because the bar had a power outage. I live alone in a triplex, behind a house. While I live in the middle of the city, the property I'm on is rather large, so there's a big backyard behind my apartment. As I was coming home tonight, I noticed that my cats weren't waiting for me in the window. They always hear my van pulling into the driveway, and they're in the window every night, no exception. I thought it was odd. Then I noticed that my kitchen light was on, which was strange, because I never leave my kitchen light on. At this point, I was a little freaked out, and that's when I thought I saw movement in my kitchen. I called 911, and the dispatcher told me to lock my van doors, remain in the vehicle, and stay on the line. Officers showed up very quickly, less than 5 minutes. They parked on the street and walked up to my van. They asked me to stay quiet and give them my house key. One officer went to the back of my apartment, and the other used my key to unlock the door. When he opened the door, everything was quiet at first. Then he yelled really loud, telling someone to come out. I heard the police officer in my backyard start yelling, and the other officer ran out to join him. By this point, my neighbors had come outside, and I was freaking out. It seemed like a long time, but eventually, they walked a cuffed woman towards me. It turns out she was a patron I had 86D band last weekend. I don't know how she found out where I lived, but she was hiding in my bedroom closet with a very large knife and a bundle of rope. I don't want to think about what would have happened if I had gone to bed with her waiting for me. I'm definitely going to take a gun safety course after this. Honestly, before I found this community, I wouldn't have noticed all the little things that were out of the ordinary tonight. Hearing similar events has taught me to be more observant. I used to drink at a certain pub in Glasgow and then go into a nightclub afterward. The pub was populated by bikers and other heavy music fans, but there was this one guy in pale blue jeans and a white Iron Maiden shirt who totally didn't fit in. Now, I'm an antisocial girl, so I would sit in the pub with a book. I liked having a pint, listening to music, and having people around, but I just didn't like talking. White shirt guy kept trying. He would nod at me whenever I looked up, try to buy me a drink when I went to the bar, and several times he sat at my table, trying to start a conversation. Apparently, saying, "Sorry, not interested," didn't mean anything to him. One night, I was really dressed up, because I just felt like it, and creepy white shirt guy kept trying to catch my eye. When I walked around to the nightclub, he followed me, persistently trying to get my attention. Walking into the club, I gave the bouncer my usual nod and greeting. They all knew me there. I went to pay to get in, and suddenly a white shirt arm popped up past me and said, "Two. We're together." I said, "Nope. One for me, please," and went in alone. All night, this guy followed me. The club has 3 floors and was packed, but this guy would even wait outside the bathrooms when I went in. One friend I left my drink with later admitted that he put it down on the bar for a while. After some time, I started feeling odd, very odd. I was dizzy, sweaty, and shaking. I figured I must be coming down with something, and decided to head home. I don't remember going down the stairs, but apparently, white shirt followed me. However, the bouncer stopped the creep from getting me out when he tried to say I had too much to drink. I used to run pubs, and the bouncer knew I could handle my alcohol. He said I wasn't drunk, just ill. White shirt guy got pushy, and the bouncer ended up pinning him against a wall. But during this time, I wandered off. One street behind the club is the red light district. I have no idea how I got there, but I was spotted 3 hours later walking toward the main road by my home. My skirt was ripped, and I had no shoes, coat, or bag. My biker friend, who was also a cab driver, recognized my tattoos from behind and stopped to check if I was okay. He instantly realized I wasn't and got me in his car, then called nearby hospitals to say he was bringing me in. 3 days later, I finally made enough sense to figure out what had happened. My drink had been spiked with ketamine, and it was a borderline dangerous dose. The cab driver talked to the bouncer, and between them, they pieced together what happened. The cab driver and his friends tracked down creepy white shirt and gave him a nice kicking. Then the railway lads heard about it, and they gave him a kicking as well. He was barred from both the club and the pub. It was a long time before I went out again. I was 22 at the time, female. It was the day after Valentine's Day, and I had just found out that the guy I was seeing was cheating on me. A coworker and I decided to grab some drinks at our favorite bar after work. We dropped my car off at home, which was 5 minutes away, and she drove. We were having a great time, and this cute guy was sitting near us and seemed to be alone. Figuring that I was newly single, I thought I'd chat him up. He was nervous and seemed shy, so we invited him over to sit with us. He was a bit socially awkward, but seemed harmless. We got to talking about what we did for work. He told us he was a parole officer and also helped the local police at times. He loosened up and seemed all right. After a while, my coworker wanted to leave, and the guy offered to give me a ride to my apartment. I was a bit uneasy, but I lived only around the corner, and he seemed nice, so she left, and we continued talking. All of a sudden, his face turned into what I can only describe as crap your pants scary as he proceeded to tell me that I needed to be careful because there was a serial rapist they were looking for. Oh, okay, thanks, I said, as I thought to myself, well, I'd certainly be safe with this shy, nervous, and socially awkward guy who didn't seem to fit the job he was just telling me about. So, instead of listening to my alarm bells, I took him up on the ride home. I was too drunk to walk, and cell phones didn't exist, so I thought, okay, it's 5 minutes. We got to my apartment, and I got out of the car. Then he asked if he could use my bathroom. I told him, no, my roommate is there, and I don't bring people she doesn't know into our home. He kept asking and getting irritated, and my alarm bells were now screaming at me to get the hell away from him. The front door to the complex was locked, and you had to be buzzed in, or you were out of luck. I had my key ready so I could quickly unlock the door. At this point, I decided to make a run for it, full-on sprint mode, like I was Jackie Joyner-Kersee. I caught him off guard and had a good head start on him as he began to chase me. I shoved the key into the door, slammed it shut behind me, and booked it to the stairs like my life depended on it. I could hear him banging on the door as I reached the stairs. I ran all the way up 5 flights of stairs, rushed into my apartment, and locked the door. I sat down and cried as my roommate stared at me in horror. I didn't leave the apartment for 4 days. That's when I realized he was likely the serial rapist he was talking about. Thanks for sticking around till the end. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to give the video a like and leave a comment with your thoughts. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a terrifying tale. See you in the next one.